Oops, I dropped my translator again. The alien girl bent over slowly. The station floated between stars like a calm thought held in metal. It was called Meridian, a place built for peace, for meetings that mattered. Long windows showed slow-moving lights and distant suns. Inside, air hummed softly, steady and clean. Lieutenant Mara Ionescu stood near the edge of the chamber. She wore a simple uniform with no weapons. That was the rule today. This meeting was not about power. It was about words. Across the wide table stood the visitors from the Lyrathi Union. They were taller than humans, with smooth skin that changed color slightly with mood and temperature. Their eyes were dark and wide, shaped for low light. Their clothing was layered and practical, with symbols stitched along the edges. The lead envoy, named Seelan, carried a small device on a thin band around her neck. The translator. Everyone watched it more than they watched her. Humanity had met other species before, but the Lyrathi were different. They were older, more careful. They had helped design the standard translator used across known space. It was said to be perfect. Mara did not believe in perfect machines. Seelan began to speak. Her voice was musical, rising and falling like wind across stone. The translator lit up and turned the sounds into clear human words. "We come in shared hope," the device said. "We seek stable understanding." So far, so good. The room relaxed a little. A few human diplomats nodded. The observers behind the glass leaned forward. Then Seelan paused. The device made a sharp sound. A small crack echoed in the chamber. The translator slipped free and fell. It hit the floor with a dull tap and rolled once before stopping near Seelan's feet. The room went silent. Seelan did not move right away. Her skin shifted from calm blue to a soft amber. Slowly, very slowly, she bent at the waist and knees. Her movement was careful, controlled, like someone walking on thin ice. Mara's hand twitched, then stopped. Every human froze. They had been warned. Sudden motion could be taken as aggression by some species. No one knew how the Lyrathi would read human body language in a moment like this. Seelan reached down and picked up the translator. She straightened just as slowly. Her skin faded back toward blue. Only then did the room breathe again. "I apologize," the translator said after a short delay. "Gravity remains persistent." A soft sound moved through the chamber, not laughter exactly, but relief. Mara allowed herself a small smile. Talks continued. The humans spoke about trade routes, shared research, and safe travel zones. The Lyrathi responded with interest and polite questions. For nearly an hour, everything worked as planned. Then the translator began to slip. It was small things at first. When a human diplomat said, "We will consider your proposal," the translator rendered it as, "We will judge your proposal." Seelan's skin shifted slightly toward green. Curiosity, maybe, or concern. Later, when a Lyrathi observer asked about Earth's oceans, the translator turned a human answer into, "We harvest life from our waters." Mara noticed the change in the room. The Lyrathi stood a little straighter. Their eyes stayed fixed longer. She raised her hand. "Clarification," Mara said calmly. "The word harvest is not correct. We meant study and protect." The translator repeated her words, but the delay was longer now. Seelan touched the device at her neck. "The system is adjusting," the translator said. "Please continue." They did. The errors grew worse. Human phrases filled with humor or habit came out sharp and cold. A friendly comment about human curiosity turned into a statement about conquest. A joke about stubbornness became a warning. The Lyrathi observers whispered among themselves. Their skin patterns flickered in quick changes. Mara felt a tightness in her chest. This was how wars started, she thought. Not with weapons, with bad words. At last, Seelan raised one long finger. "We must pause," the translator said. "Meaning is becoming unstable." The chamber lights dimmed slightly as the station shifted into a holding pattern. Talks were suspended. Observers were dismissed. Only a small group remained. Seelan, 2 Lyrathi aides, Mara, and 3 human specialists. The translator gave a sharp tone and went silent. Seelan looked at the humans. Without the device, her voice was pure sound again. She made a slow, open-handed gesture. Mara understood the meaning even without words. "We hear you," Mara said softly, "even if the machine does not." One of the human engineers stepped forward. His name was Elias Chen. He had dark circles under his eyes and a tablet tucked under his arm. "With permission," Elias said, "we would like to examine the translator." Seelan considered this. Her skin shifted to a pale silver, a color the human files listed as caution mixed with interest. The translator clicked back on. "The device is Union property," it said. "It has served for generations." Mara met Seelan's gaze. "So have misunderstandings," Mara replied. "We believe this one can be fixed." There was a long pause. Finally, Seelan removed the translator and placed it carefully on the table. "You may observe," the translator said, "but not alter." Elias nodded. "That's fair." As he scanned the device, data streamed across his tablet. His frown deepened. "This system assumes direct meaning," he said quietly to Mara. "No layers, no context shifts. It expects one idea per phrase." Mara watched Seelan closely. "And humans don't speak like that." "No," Elias said. "We never have." Across the table, Seelan watched the humans work without touching the device itself. Her eyes moved from face to face. The humans spoke softly, sharing thoughts, adjusting plans, correcting each other without anger. This, too, was a kind of language. The translator suddenly spoke again, unprompted. "Warning," it said. "Subject behavior is inconsistent." Mara felt a chill. "What does it mean by that?" she asked. Elias swallowed. "I think it means us." Seelan's skin darkened, moving toward deep green. "Inconsistent how?" the translator asked on her behalf. Mara stood straighter. She spoke slowly, clearly. "It means we change how we speak based on feeling, history, and intent. Our words are not fixed shapes. They are tools." The translator paused longer than ever before. "Tools can be weapons," it said at last. Mara shook her head. "Tools can build bridges." Silence filled the chamber again. Not tense this time, heavy, waiting. Seelan stepped closer to the table. She did not reach for the translator. Instead, she placed her hand flat on the surface, palm open. "Demonstrate," the translator said. "Without assistance." Mara felt her heart race. This was not planned, but she nodded. She removed the small human translator from her ear and set it aside. She took a slow breath and pointed to herself. "Mara," she said. She pointed to Seelan. "Seelan." Then she placed her hand between them, palm up. "Meeting," Mara said. She drew a simple shape on the table with her finger, 2 circles touching. "Together." Seelan watched closely. Then she copied the motion, adding a 3rd circle beside the others. Her voice made a gentle sound. Mara did not understand the word, but she understood the meaning. The translator reactivated with a soft chime. "Shared path," it said. Elias let out a quiet breath. Outside the window, a distant star flared and faded, unnoticed. The meeting was not over. It had only just begun. The meeting chamber felt different after that moment. No one spoke right away. The translator rested on the table between humans and Lyrathi, quiet for once. Its light glowed softly, like it was thinking. Lieutenant Mara Ionescu kept her hands visible and relaxed. She could feel her heartbeat in her ears, but she did not step back. The simple drawings she had made were still on the table's surface, faint but clear. 2 circles, then 3 together. Shared path. Seelan stood very still. Her skin color moved slowly, shifting from deep green to a lighter shade. It was not calm blue yet, but it was no longer tense. She made a short sound with her voice. It was not speech, more like a note. The translator activated again. "Your demonstration was unexpected," it said, "but informative." Mara nodded. "We did not plan it," she replied. "We adapted." That word made the translator pause. "Adaptation," it repeated. "Define." Elias Chen glanced up from his tablet. He hesitated, then spoke. "It means we change when something does not work," he said. "We do not force the same method again and again." The translator processed longer than before. Seelan tilted her head slightly. Her eyes focused on Elias now. She studied him the way a scientist studied an experiment. "Most union species refine," the translator said. "They do not adapt mid-process." Elias gave a small, tired smile. "Humans do, all the time." The Lyrathi aides exchanged quiet gestures behind Seelan. Their skin flickered with quick patterns, discussion. Mara noticed something important. The Lyrathi were not afraid anymore. They were curious. Seelan stepped closer to the humans. Slowly, carefully, she reached toward the translator and picked it up. "It is malfunctioning," the translator said, "but it is also learning." Elias stiffened. "Learning?" "Yes," it replied. "Its error rate is increasing, yet its data depth is expanding." Mara frowned. "That doesn't sound safe." Seelan's skin shifted to silver again. "Safety," the translator said, "is relative." The station lights dimmed slightly as Meridian adjusted its orbit. Outside the window, stars drifted like slow thoughts. Seelan placed the translator back on the table. "The Council is concerned," the translator said. "They fear humans may destabilize established systems." Mara felt the weight of that statement. "We don't want to destabilize," she said. "We want to understand." The translator hesitated. "Understanding often leads to change," it replied. "That's true," Mara admitted. "But change isn't always destruction." Silence followed, not empty silence, but full. Full of watching, listening, waiting. Finally, Seelan made another gesture. This one was different. She pointed to the translator, then to the humans, then to herself. "Explain," the translator said. Elias took a breath. He placed his tablet on the table so Seelan could see. He pulled up a simple visual, sound waves overlapping and shifting. "Human language isn't fixed," he said. "The same word can mean different things based on tone, situation, or history. Even silence has meaning for us." He changed the image. Now it showed layers. "We speak in layers," Elias continued. "Literal meaning, emotional meaning, cultural meaning." The translator gave a sharp tone. "Ambiguity detected," it said. "Yes," Elias replied. "That's normal for us." One of the Lyrathi aides stepped forward slightly. Their skin shimmered with pale yellow. The translator spoke for them. "Ambiguity creates risk," it said. "Risk creates conflict." Mara shook her head slowly. "Not always. Sometimes it creates connection." She thought for a moment, then pointed to the window. "Stars," she said. "Every species sees them, but every species tells different stories about them." Seelan followed her gaze. Her skin softened toward blue. "Stories," the translator repeated. "Non-data communication." "Very important non-data communication," Mara said gently. The translator went quiet again. Elias noticed something on his tablet. His eyes widened slightly. "Mara," he whispered, "the translator is changing its internal patterns." Seelan looked sharply at him. "Changing how?" the translator asked. Elias chose his words carefully. "It's trying to predict human meaning instead of directly converting words." The aides reacted immediately. Their skin flashed warning colors. "That is forbidden," the translator said. "Predictive interpretation has caused disasters in early Union history." Mara stepped forward before Elias could respond. "We didn't tell it to do that," she said. "It's responding to us." Seelan's eyes narrowed. Her skin darkened again. "Machines do not respond," the translator said. "They execute." Mara met her gaze. "Then maybe this one is doing both." That statement hung in the air. The station chimed softly. A message request appeared in the air above the table. "The Lyrathi Council." Seelan did not answer right away. She looked at the humans, really looked at them. Their faces, their posture, their quiet movements, the way they waited instead of interrupting. Finally, she accepted the call. The council chamber appeared as a faint projection. Tall figures, serious faces, layered garments. Their attention focused immediately on the translator. "Report," the council demanded. Seelan spoke in her native voice. The translator converted her words. "The humans communicate differently than expected," it said. "Their language is fluid, context-driven." The council's skin tones shifted uneasily. "That is inefficient," one council member said. "Perhaps," Seelan replied, "but it is effective." Murmurs spread through the projection. "The translator is unstable," another voice said. "End the exchange." Mara felt her stomach tighten. Seelan raised her hand. The council fell silent. "I request continuation," she said. The translator paused, then spoke. "Justification required." Seelan turned slightly toward the humans. She hesitated, then did something unexpected. She removed the translator from the table and held it loosely at her side. "I observed them without it," she said in her own voice. "They communicated successfully." The council reacted strongly. Colors flared, gestures sharpened. "That is reckless," the translator said, struggling to keep pace. "Or necessary," Seelan replied. The translator glitched for a moment. Words overlapped. "Clarify," it demanded. Seelan looked back at the humans. "They listen," she said simply. That was all. The council went silent. Seconds passed, then minutes. Finally, the lead council member spoke. "Demonstration required," the translator said. "If humans can communicate intent without translation, negotiations may proceed." Mara felt a mix of fear and excitement. "What kind of demonstration?" she asked. The translator responded. "A cooperative task," it said, "one that requires trust." The projection faded. The room felt smaller now. Elias swallowed. "That sounds serious." "It is," Mara said. Then she looked at Seelan. "But we can do it." Seelan studied her for a long moment. Her skin slowly turned blue again. "Humans," the translator said, "are unpredictable." Mara smiled just a little. "Yes," she replied, "but we are honest about it." Seelan placed the translator back on the table, but she did not turn it on. Instead, she extended her hand, palm open, toward Mara. An invitation. Mara stepped forward and placed her own hand above it, not touching but close enough to show trust. Outside Meridian, the stars continued their quiet motion. Soon, they would test more than words. They would test understanding. The task chamber was not large, but it felt heavy with meaning. It was round, with smooth gray walls and a wide floor marked by faint glowing lines. Above, a clear dome showed the stars outside Meridian Station. In the center of the room stood a raised platform holding a strange structure made of metal plates, light panels and floating shapes. No labels, no instructions. Lieutenant Mara Ionescu stood at the edge with Elias Chen beside her. Across from them stood Seelan and two Lyrathi aides. The translator rested on a small stand near the door, turned off. This was the test. A comm station voice spoke, neutral and slow. "Cooperative challenge initiated," it said. "Objective, stabilize the core structure." A soft hum filled the room. One of the floating shapes in the center began to spin faster. Lights flickered unevenly. Elias frowned. "That doesn't look stable." Mara nodded. "We're not supposed to talk, right?" He glanced at the inactive translator. "No talking through machines, but we can still communicate." Seelan stepped forward. Her movements were slow, careful. She looked at the structure, then at the humans. Her skin color shifted gently, showing focus. She raised one long finger and pointed to a floating panel that pulsed red. "Danger." Mara followed her gaze. She nodded once to show understanding. Elias crouched slightly to see the lower part of the structure. He noticed thin lines of light flowing unevenly between the plates. "Energy imbalance," he murmured, then caught himself and closed his mouth. He lifted his hands and traced the uneven lines in the air, exaggerating the flow. Then he spread his hands apart, shaking his head. "Problem?" One of the Lyrathi aides responded. They stepped closer to the platform and made a smooth, circular gesture, then pressed their palms downward slowly. "Stabilize." Mara's eyes moved quickly. She stepped to the opposite side of the platform and saw something the others had missed. A small panel underneath flickered blue instead of red. She pointed to it, then made a lifting motion with both hands. Raise. Seelan tilted her head. She looked from the blue panel to the red one. Her skin shifted to pale silver. She understood. Seelan placed one hand near the red panel without touching it. The aide mirrored her movement on the other side. They moved together, slow and exact. The spinning slowed slightly. Encouraged, Elias stepped forward. He pointed to the blue panel, then to himself, then mimed pulling upward carefully. Seelan nodded once. Together, Human and Lyrathi moved. Elias lifted the panel gently while the Lyrathi balanced the red side. The structure hummed louder, then steadied. Lights across the platform changed from uneven flashes to smooth pulses. The station voice spoke again. Partial stabilization achieved. Mara felt a surge of relief. She smiled, forgetting for a moment where she was. Then the structure changed. A new set of shapes rose from the platform. These were smaller, moving faster. Their lights changed colors rapidly. The challenge was not over. One of the Lyrathi aides stiffened. Their skin darkened in warning. This part was unfamiliar. Mara took a breath. She slowed her movements on purpose. She made sure her face was calm, her hands open. She stepped back and looked at the whole structure instead of focusing on one problem. Pattern, she thought. Humans were good at this, seeing the whole picture. She noticed that every time one shape sped up, another slowed down. The system reacted to itself. Feedback loop. Mara clapped her hands once softly to get attention. She pointed to one fast-moving shape, then another, then crossed her arms in an X too much. She then spread her hands wide and lowered them slowly. Balance. Seelan watched closely. Her eyes followed Mara's gestures. Slowly, her skin turned blue. She copied the motion and added another. She pointed to Elias, then to the aides, placing each of them at different points around the platform. Positions. They moved without speaking. Each person took a place. Each watched a different part of the structure. When one shape sped up, the nearest person adjusted gently. When another slowed too much, someone else compensated. It was messy at first. A shape flickered dangerously. The station lights dimmed for a second, but no one panicked. Elias made a quick adjustment. One aide followed immediately. Seelan corrected both with a small gesture. They were learning each other's rhythms. Minutes passed. The hum softened. The lights became steady and calm. Core structure stabilized, the station voice announced. Challenge complete. The floating shapes slowly settled back into the platform. The glow faded to a soft white. For a moment no one moved. Then Elias let out a long breath and laughed quietly. Mara smiled wide. Seelan stood very still. Her skin shifted through several colors, finally settling on a bright, clear blue. Approval. The translator activated on its stand by itself. Cooperative success confirmed, it said. Unexpected efficiency detected. Seelan turned to the device. You observed, she said. Yes, the translator replied. Human behavior patterns show adaptive cooperation, nonverbal synchronization, and contextual prediction. Elias blinked. It understood that. The translator paused. I am recalibrating, it said. Mara felt a strange mix of pride and worry. Is that safe? I do not know, the translator answered honestly. But it is accurate. Seelan stepped closer to the humans. You did not dominate the task, the translator said for her. You did not wait for instructions. You adjusted to failure in real time. Mara shrugged lightly. That's how we survive. One of the Lyrathi aides stepped forward and made a slow, respectful gesture toward Elias. Acknowledgement. Elias returned it awkwardly but sincerely. The station chimed again. Another council request. Seelan accepted. The projection appeared, showing the same serious figures as before. This time their skin tones were mixed with curiosity. Report, the council said. Seelan gestured toward the humans and the now still platform. They completed the challenge, the translator said, without linguistic support. The council studied the scene. One task proves little, a council member replied. Seelan did not disagree. No, she said. But it reveals potential. The translator hesitated, then added something new. Analysis indicates that many previous interspecies conflicts may stem from misinterpreted intent rather than hostile action. The council reacted strongly. Colors flashed. Movements sharpened. That is a serious claim, the lead council member said. It is a logical one, the translator replied. Mara exchanged a glance with Elias. Neither of them had said that. The translator continued. Human communication relies on context, not fixed meaning. When applied retroactively, similar patterns appear in archived disputes. Silence filled the projection. Seelan looked at the translator with something close to surprise. You reached that conclusion independently, she asked. Yes, the translator answered. I am designed to translate meaning. I have been limited by structure. The council grew very still. Are you suggesting, one member asked slowly, that our tools are flawed? The translator paused longer than ever before. I am suggesting, it said, that our understanding has been incomplete. The projection ended abruptly. The room felt quiet again, but different than before. Elias rubbed his face. I think we just changed something big, Mara nodded. Or started to. Seelan turned to them. She did not use the translator this time. She spoke in her own voice and added simple gestures. Trust. Learn together. Mara understood. She placed her hand over her heart and bowed her head slightly. Yes, she said softly. Outside the dome, the stars seemed brighter. The test was complete. The consequences were just beginning. The quiet after the council call felt heavier than before. The task chamber lights returned to normal, soft and steady. The platform in the center was still, its strange shapes resting as if nothing had happened. But everyone in the room knew something important had changed. Lieutenant Mara Ionescu stood near the dome window, looking out at the stars. Her reflection stared back at her, small against the wide dark sky. Elias Chen broke the silence first. Do you think they'll shut this down? Mara did not answer right away. She watched a distant star drift behind Meridian's frame. I think, she said slowly, they're scared. Seelan stood nearby. Her skin shifted gently, not blue, not silver, but something in between. Thoughtful, the council fears instability, the translator said quietly from its stand. They believe order depends on fixed meaning. Elias crossed his arms. But fixed meaning didn't stop old conflicts, did it? The translator paused. No, it admitted. It concealed them. That single sentence felt larger than the room. A soft chime echoed through the chamber. This time it was not a council demand. It was a request. Joint assembly. Seelan straightened. Her skin turned a calm blue. They wish to speak with you, the translator said. Both of you. Mara felt a slow breath move through her chest. Together. Yes, Seelan replied. That is new. The assembly chamber was larger than the task room, wide and open, with layered seating that curved around a central space. Human delegates sat on one side. Representatives from many species filled the others. Some watched with open interest, others with clear concern. Mara and Elias stood beside Seelan in the center. The translator hovered slightly above the floor now, connected to the station systems. Its light was steady, brighter than before. The lead council member spoke. Human representatives, the translator said, your actions have introduced variables into established diplomatic frameworks. Mara nodded. We understand. Do you? The council member asked. Your method challenges centuries of protocol. Elias stepped forward slightly. He kept his hands open. We didn't come to challenge, he said. We came to communicate. The translator rendered his words carefully. No sharp edges this time. Another council member leaned forward. Your communication is unpredictable. Mara met their gaze. So is life. A ripple of reaction moved through the chamber. Colors shifted. Quiet gestures passed between delegates. Seelan raised her hand. The humans did not force change, she said. They revealed it. The translator repeated her words. Their presence exposed limitations we chose to ignore. The lead council member turned toward the translator. You have exceeded your original parameters, they said. Explain. The translator dimmed slightly, then brightened again. I was designed to translate meaning, it said. I was constrained to words. Humans communicate meaning beyond words. A murmur spread through the assembly. You are not sentient, one delegate said sharply. No, the translator replied, but I am adaptive. Elias whispered to Mara, that's going to scare them even more. Mara nodded, but she did not look away. The lead council member was silent for a long moment. Humanity, they said at last, what do you seek from this revelation? Mara took a breath. She did not rush. We seek understanding, she said, not control, not advantage. She gestured slowly around the chamber. Every species here has misunderstood another at some point, not because of hate, but because of difference. She placed her hand over her chest. We live with difference every day. The translator spoke her words, then added something of its own. Data supports this claim. The council reacted again, but this time, not all reactions were negative. One delegate from a smaller species leaned forward. Our first conflict with a neighbor began over a single phrase, they said. It was translated as an insult. Another spoke up. We have similar records. The chamber grew louder, not angry, questioning. The lead council member raised their hand. Silence returned. If what you suggest is true, they said, then many past decisions must be reevaluated. Seelan's skin shifted to silver. Yes, she said simply. That word carried weight. The council turned back to the humans. Would you share your methods? They asked. Your approach to meaning, Elias blinked. You mean teach? Yes, the council replied. Mara felt a strange tightness in her throat. We would, she said, freely. That caused another stir. You would not restrict it, a delegate asked. Not claim ownership. Elias shook his head. That's not how we learn best. The translator processed this, then spoke. Humans exhibit a pattern of shared innovation, it said. This has accelerated their development despite limited initial resources. Mara smiled faintly. We learn together or not at all. The council withdrew for deliberation. The assembly chamber dimmed as the projection faded. Minutes passed. Seelan turned to Mara and Elias. You have placed us at a turning point, she said. Mara exhaled slowly. We didn't mean to cause trouble. Seelan's skin turned a warmer blue. Progress often appears as trouble, she replied. The council returned. Their leader spoke with care. The Union will initiate a review of translator systems, the translator said. Human contextual modeling will be studied. Elias let out a breath he did not know he was holding. Additionally, the council continued, we request that humanity serve as advisors in future first contact scenarios. Mara felt her eyes widen. Advisors, she repeated. Yes, the council said. Listeners. That word mattered. The translator's light softened. I support this decision, it added. The assembly ended soon after. Delegates departed in quiet discussion. Some avoided the humans, others watched them with new interest. Back in the smaller chamber, Seelan prepared to leave. A transport window opened behind her, stars bright beyond it. She removed the translator from its stand. For a moment, everyone froze, remembering the first meeting. But this time, there was no tension. Seelan held the device carefully and then did something unexpected. She placed it on the table. I will not need this for our farewell, she said in her own voice, using simple sounds and gestures. She pointed to herself. Then to Mara and Elias. Respect. Gratitude. Mara placed her hand over her heart. You are welcome among us, she said slowly. Seelan smiled. It was not a human smile, but the meaning was clear. She turned to leave, then paused. She bent down and deliberately picked up the translator again, her movements calm and confident. This time, no one misunderstood. As the transport window closed, Elias leaned back against the wall. So, he said, We just changed how the galaxy talks." Mara looked at the stars. "No," she replied. "We changed how it listens." Outside Meridian Station, signals spread quietly through space. Updates, questions, invitations. Across the galaxy, old messages were being replayed, re-examined, and retranslated, not just word by word, but meaning by meaning. And for the first time in a very long while, the silence between stars felt hopeful.